we are live again with the PEO Speedwagon Podcast. I am your host, Heather Applegate, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Ryan Shapiro. And today we have the pleasure of having Gabe Angieri join us from Arch Grants, and we are so excited for the conversation with you today, Gabe.
I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for the invitation, Heather. Good to see you, Ryan.
Yeah, good to see you, bud.
Now, y'all have known each other for a bit, right?
Mm-hmm. For a little bit now, yeah.
Couple of years, yeah.
We celebrate the anniversary every year, so that's right. It's a
find a rooftop deck somewhere, pop a bottle of champagne.
That's right. Yeah.
That's really lovely.
So I knew of Gabe before we ever met because of his work with Arch Grants and Arch, the work that organization does. That I'm not going to steal the thunder of that, but we got introduced by a mutual friend who's a client of ours who's close with Gabe, and then since then. We just kind of got to know each other both on the personal, professional side. Now, I will blow that friend up. He is now traipsing across like Copenhagen or whatever he's doing right now. So, yeah.
He's off his World Cup tour and off overseas now. So,
yeah. Yes. Chris Dornfeld, he's got it all figured out, basically. He's just jet setting and doing whatever he wants. And he was a previous guest of the show. So it kind of comes full circle.
I love that. That's awesome. Yep. Well, Gabe, I want to kind of go back, like way back into your history and just learn a little bit about where did you grow up? Are you a Midwestern guy or where are you from?
So I was originally from New York. I was born in Manhattan some decades ago.
Okay.
And spent most of my formative years actually growing up around the Twin Cities, so Minneapolis, St. Paul. I migrated to St. Louis in 2001, right at the tail end of high school. And the rest is kind of history. I built a life here, built my family here, and have, really enjoyed being part of this community.
Yeah, it seems like a really sweet community. I am not a part of it, but have visited a few times and really love it. Such a sweet town. You went to school there in St. Louis to college?
I did. I finished off high school. Senior year of high school was in St. Louis. So I can ask a question relevant only in St. Louis, which I won't do here. But, then I went to WashU to study economics and nonprofit management, after entering the workforce for a few years. So non-traditional, secondary education. While building a family, raising two sons, it was quite an adventure. So
all the things at once. I feel like, it gives you a leg up in a way, like going the traditional route, going from high school to college, you're doing your best to guess what you're going to really enjoy in a career. And so I think that's cool that you got to take some steps into the real world and then say, okay, no, I want to focus my education on this.
Learning what you don't want to do, I think, is it's a really great way to focus your energies on something that does excite you. So, I had that opportunity and privilege.
And truly, your degree matches with what you're doing professionally better than most people that we run into.
It kind of worked out that way. When I first went to undergrad, I was pursuing a bachelor's in business administration. It was not particularly interesting to me. It was very dry, did not spur my creative juices in any meaningful way. And a friend of mine suggested exploring a degree in economics, which is kind of the, it's the nexus of business, the social sciences, humanities, and I really enjoyed getting a grounding in that. And I think it does have some bearing today. Certainly my work at Arch Grants and the nonprofit management grad program later was highly influential in pushing that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that kind of got your wheels spinning in a way that was just a little more interesting to you than general business. Did you know, in terms of the nonprofit management, did you know that did you have a heart for more of a mission orientation?
Yeah, I did. In hindsight, the appeal of making profit sounds pretty good, entering my 40s, but I knew I wanted to have a career with impact. My father had worked in corporate America for decades, and while rewarding and was able to provide well for our family, did not seem like he got a lot of satisfaction or gratification out of his daily grind. So I had some very good friends, parents of my closest friends who've been like brothers for 30 years. They had deep roots in the nonprofit sector, on the social or human services side. So, it's actually this bracelet I wear was a gift to me from this guy Dave Purchase, who started the first legal needle exchange in the country back in the late 80s. He saw a public health crisis brewing with injection drug users and the AIDS epidemic, this perfect storm of viral proliferation, and he took matters into his own hands, literally, and set up a table with a bag of clean syringes and did a one for one syringe exchange program. He later went on to found North American Syringe Exchange Network, NASN, which is a huge buying group for organizations in the harm reduction space. So, and then his wife, Sue Purchase, my good friend's mother, she had started the first syringe exchange program in Minneapolis, where I grew up. David founded it in Tacoma, Washington. Sue was in Minneapolis. That's how they connected. And so I had that example of folks that devoted themselves to a higher purpose, to a mission-driven life. And that certainly was influential in my decision to pursue a career in nonprofits.
Yeah, very cool. And, there are a lot of, thinking about Arch grants, there are a lot of, funder-founder connection vehicles, VC space, seed funding, angel investing. There are a lot of spaces and accelerators, ways for founders to get the funding that they need and the mentorship that they need, and, in various ways throughout the U.S. But I want to know what's unique about Arch Grants in that it is a nonprofit. Tell me kind of the model, how it works.
Sure. So Arch Grants was founded 2012 as the first nonprofit 501c3 of its kind in the country. The truly novel concept was taking philanthropic dollars, donated tax-deductible gifts, and giving them, rewarding them to for-profit enterprises. Coming out of my nonprofit management studies, when I first heard of Arch Grants, it was a bit of a head scratcher. I said, "Oh, it doesn't really match with my what I imagine to be a nonprofit role." But when you think about it, you kind of step back. The nonprofit sector is often called the third sector because it exists to fill those gaps between the public and private markets. And in St. Louis specifically, although it's certainly not unique to St. Louis, there's been a dearth of investment in small businesses and business acceleration. There was a need to invest in early enterprises because of the economic decline that St. Louis experienced over the past 40, 50, 60 years. And I was quickly sold on this model of raising philanthropic dollars to give to for-profit companies in exchange for a 1-year commitment to headquarter in St. Louis. So that's kind of big string attached to the award. It's non-dilutive, so we don't take any stake in the companies. Our mission is to drive economic impact through entrepreneurs and their startups. And, long story short, since 2012, we've gone on to award over $20 million in non-dilutive awards. Today, it's about a $2 million a year clip. Roughly 20 to 25 companies a year benefit from our grant funding program. We have today introduced, not today, but in the recent few years, we've introduced a number of programs that augment those grants to make sure that the community dollars, because the vast majority of our funding comes from the St. Louis community, that those dollars are stewarded in a effective, efficacious way, driving economic impact, in every way possible. So
Mm-hmm.
we work very closely with the companies that we award, providing them concierge business support services, connecting them with experts in their fields, potential customers, investors, advisors, mentors,
Mm-hmm.
really whatever they need, they will come to us, express that need, and we will try to find a resource partner, providing benefits ourselves, or getting them on a path where they can avail themselves of what St. Louis has to offer.
Yeah, I love that. I think something that seemed really cool to me when I attended the Arch Grants event a few weeks ago was seeing the cohorts that have stuck together throughout the years and continue to receive guidance and connection through Arch Grants. Do you
Yeah.
what's that been like for you as you've seen them continue to grow and flourish?
It's been incredibly rewarding. We have companies now, going back to 2012. There's still one or two going from that first class, although we've had a few good exits and companies that have uh, sold or been acquired by other larger enterprises.
Mm-hmm.
I will say one of the things that has been particularly rewarding for me is to see the community of entrepreneurs really come together in a meaningful way, where in the first several years, we've always been a fairly lightly staffed organization.
Mm-hmm.
When I joined the team in 2016, we're a team of 5. We basically stayed about that size through the first 5 years of my tenure. Today we're a team of 10, which, we doubled in our capacity, but the number of companies that we support has multiplied by 4 or 5 today. So we had about 50 companies that we were supporting in 2016. Today we have over 160, 175 companies that are active in St. Louis that we continue to work with and provide benefit for. And the founders that come through the program continue to, they're part of the family. Kind of once you're in, you're in. And we will continue to engage them, try to drive value for them, and more than anything, connect them with each other. So there's been a ton of benefit in, I think it was on full display at the Innovation Summit that PEO very graciously sponsored for us. We're very grateful for that support. I think that really was represented there when you see founders going back 13, 14 years, still coming to our events, still meeting with each other and trading resources, bringing their own investors and customers to the mix.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
Yeah, I think you guys have that word of family is what it feels like there. Like at that event, any interaction I've had the opportunity to have with, the different entrepreneurs, the ones that you've supported through the cohorts, or people who just kind of maybe aren't cohort members, but just kind of, revolve around Arch Grants, is that there's this real deep sense of community. And that has been enormous for St. Louis. Like organizations know Arch Grants far and wide and can see these small to medium-sized businesses that you all support and do thrive because of community and what comes with that, which is somebody willing to help. You guys go find things for people like you describe, but also you just give them confidence, and it kind of becomes it is an ecosystem, right? It just grows and evolves over time.
I think it's really grounded in this theory of change, that when you bring together a community around a certain issue, in our case, it's economic development through startups and entrepreneurs, just a ton of benefit is realized by connecting them with each other, by setting a platform through which they can engage and support each other. We support entrepreneurs and startups every day. They're actually not our focus. Our focus is driving economic impact for St. Louis, right? So everything we do is through that lens, but we built a family around it, right? So, we try to be very clear about where our priorities are. If a company moves out of state, we will not be able to provide the same level of support. That doesn't mean we don't want to help them, because they can be a useful ambassador, they can be a partner in some later date. So it's kind of this long-term view of what can shape a region's economy that drives our work. So we think that being in the most welcoming, supportive environment for early stage, high growth businesses specifically, St. Louis can differentiate itself and realize, greater potential.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it is really unique too, because I mean, one, you mentioned it was the first of its kind, but two, a lot of cities, and St. Louis used to be one of them, derive economic development off of big corporations. Like that's where it's, and you've kind of chosen to flip it and say, well, let's elevate these small businesses and have them grow and create the prosperity and create more jobs. And perhaps have them grow into larger organizations, but have that rooted through the small business journey. And it feels very different, because we experience this all the time in talking to small business owners. I think what's great about a small business or a nonprofit organization too is that organization at those earlier stages is more connected to the mission of what that business is and the impact it's going to make. And as we sample conversations with employees around the country, most people would generally prefer to work in a small business or a nonprofit because of that alignment to a mission. But there's the other side of the coin. There's money and compensation and other things that are sometimes limited in those organizations. But you all are working to help try and level that playing field to a degree.
That's right. I think there's something that we talk about often. I talk about often. Microsoft was a small business when it was in the garage, right? Twitter was a one dude developing, new technology.
St. Louis guy too.
Yeah, St. Louis guy.
Oh, yeah?
Jack Dorsey. He founded Twitter in St. Louis and took it out to the coast because he needed to raise some serious capital. And the West Coast has a much more risk tolerant approach to investing. Not necessarily more money, they probably do, but just more higher risk appetite. But one of the things that I think differentiates Arch Grants and what excites me day in and day out is the potential for small businesses to become, every startup's small business, and many of them have the potential to grow into huge employers down the line. So when we look around this region, we see the most influential, most impactful corporate citizens are all homegrown companies. Some of them were founded, 100 years ago. Some of them were founded 40 years ago, 30 something years ago, like Worldwide Technologies case, but Emerson and Centene and AB, which was, acquired by InBev, and Monsanto, which is now Bayer Crop Science. These were all local companies. Express Scripts, the list goes on and on. They're all local companies that grew into giants in their field. And, the way capitalism works is they get acquired and they move on and they relocate at some point. But if you're not filling that pipeline or getting that flywheel turning where you have continual investment in early stage businesses and providing them the support to grow, then you wind up in a really bad spot. Once you have a vibrant region, and I can't, I don't think this podcast's long enough to talk about all the reasons that we're in the position we're in St. Louis, but it's not unique. Many Rust Belt cities are in a similar position. They're all trying different things to either reclaim former economic vibrancy or realize new potential. I know in St. Louis, if we're not investing in these small to medium-sized businesses and helping them get their feet under them, we will be the worse for it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the new growth that's going to continue sustained growth. Love that.
Over 70% of new jobs created are small business driven.
Oh, no kidding.
It's just the national trends are very clear. You need small businesses to create new jobs. You need new enterprises, small businesses to create new jobs. If you're totally reliant on big employers or big relocation targets, it's kind of fool's gold. Yeah.
Now, something you said a minute ago, Ryan, you were talking about, in the nonprofit sector, sometimes it's hard to have what you need to provide an interesting opportunity for new employees. So I know that you two have worked together on some PEO work and enabling you to have a better package, a more attractive package for Arch Grants employees. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience and what that has done for maybe the family that is Arch Grants?
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to share our experience. I will say I've been approached, Arch Grants has been approached a number of times over the years by PEOs. Won't call it any specific names, but usually you get those at least when I would get those inbounds, I would just kind of out of hand dismiss them. Said, oh yeah, maybe there's something there, but I don't have the time or wherewithal to explore those options. We're a team of 5-6 people. HR is me, in most instances. We don't have the time to deal with something like a PEO or even understanding what the opportunity is there. Yeah. So when I first met Ryan and Rachel, just hearing a little bit about what their role is and helping navigate the PEO procurement or selection or vetting process, and understanding how their model worked, and setting economics, incentive alignment is really important. So making sure that there weren't any perverse incentives in the model, and that they could be credible, good faith partners with us throughout this selection process. And what I mean by that is, like, there's plenty of channel partner, pipeline partner deals that exist out there, that there are kickbacks or benefits realized based on who you're providing. So you can't really trust the guidance. But hearing about PEOMG's model and understanding their incentive alignment, I was very comfortable moving forward with that. And I will say we were able to start working with a PEO about 6-7 months ago, instead of seeing an absolute increase of our benefits package that we offer to our employees. We saw a reduction in costs and a huge increase in the benefits that we're able to provide. So I've had several prospective employees over the years express interest in working with Arch Grants, being excited about the mission, but they see the benefits package and they're like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. I cover our family, or I'm thinking about starting a family, or I have some condition that will require some additional coverage or benefits. And being a small nonprofit, we're really hamstrung, and as many are, in what we're able to provide just from a cost basis perspective. So, it's been a great experience for us. The PEO that we selected has been so far so good. It's been great to work with, and I know our employees are realizing they have a lot more satisfaction in the benefits regime that we can now offer.
Yeah. I mean, going into a nonprofit, that's where I was for a good period of time in my background. And, you just kind of accept, like, I'm here for this impact purpose. I'm not going to expect a large salary. I'm not going to expect benefits. I'm not going, all these things where it's like, I know I'm going to have to sacrifice a few of these things in order to pursue this possible impact. And so the fact that you're able to bring all those things together and not only offer the impact, but offer attractive benefits to your employees is really huge.
Yeah. And I'm certainly not breaking any new ground saying that, that model is bullshit, of like people that work for nonprofits expecting lower pay or lower benefits. There's a reason that the nonprofits exist, and of course there are efficiencies to realize in every sector, including nonprofits, in terms of who's servicing what need and how they work together. And it is it's a much larger issue than just compensation packages in terms of what nonprofits deal with. But if you want to be effective in delivering against your mission, you need high quality people. You need great talent to drive the work. If you are constantly cutting corners on what you're able to offer people, and I'm not saying that nonprofits do that because they want to. It's because they are resource constrained, and unfortunately, it's very prevalent that funders of nonprofits, folks that support the work or want to support the work, have a fairly outdated understanding of what it takes to drive a mission forward. And so, well, if you're working for a nonprofit, you should expect it to not make as much money as you would in a for-profit environment, or suffer worse benefits or vacation time or whatever it is. But if you really want to drive value with something, you need to be able to attract, retain high quality talent, and talent follows where they're treated the best, and when they get the Um, Nobody's going to get. I wouldn't suggest you should get rich working in nonprofits, but you should be able to, have a sustainable wage and a comfortable life.
Yes.
It's a powerful message because yes, you get rich in your alignment to your goals.
That's right.
You could, but it shouldn't come at the sacrifice of what you need to do at home. And I think it's important to hear because I do think many people operate through that lens at times, either just from observing nonprofit organizations from the outside being in, or maybe their own experiences with some nonprofits that have operated with on the tighter end of that resource constraint where that leader doesn't lean towards their taking care of their people as much because they've got to balance everything else. So it's an important mission it's an important statement to hear that if you want to serve the mission, you've got to take care of the people who are going to get you there and to have the top talent. And you've got a lot of hard choices along the way. But as you're a prospective employee evaluating a nonprofit organization to spend your time and give your time with, like you should be asking those hard questions and not setting your expectations lower because that's not what's right.
Of course, you should look at how a nonprofit measures its mission delivery, how it evaluates success, but it should actually be a warning sign if their salaries are well below market or they are doing an incredible amount with a very small team. You say, well, is that sustainable? Is somebody uniquely interested or capable of doing that work, driving the majority of the mission delivery? And when they hit burnout or have some calamitous, health instance or whatever, are you going to be, kind of up the creek without a paddle in terms of continuing the work? So I think, having a sustainable mindset or a mindset focused on sustainability when it comes to both supporting nonprofits and leading nonprofits is really important.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I imagine you encounter that a lot with because we've experienced that in our growth is is PEOMG even sustainable? Because when you're a small business, you're defaulting to grit. We've talked about this on other episodes, but I imagine you and your team are talking about sustainability with a lot of these startups, these entrepreneurs, these founders, like building sustainable businesses that are coming into your ecosystem. So I imagine that kind of is almost ubiquitous in terms of the way you're talking about it with them.
Sure. Yeah. Many of the businesses that we work with, it's 1, 2, less than 5 people, usually working at the stage that we award them on the business. The wearing many hats is probably an understatement. I mean, they're wearing all the hats, right?
Sure. Yes.
And actually a founder years ago, he explained a tough pivot they were going through, and they had raised some millions of dollars and had some success and on the more, I got a fair amount of PR, but they had to go through a pivot, and he was doing a lot of introspection, and he said, look, if I'm an A player in sales, but and a C player, when it comes to HR or, building a product, and I'm trying to do all three, I'm actually going to be like a C player across the board.
C average.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not able to devote the time and attention on the things that you're the best at, you will ultimately have to make some really hard choices. So one of the things that we try to work with our companies on is identifying those areas where they're not as strong, or where they are the strongest, and say, you should focus on that area, and maybe there's a way we can help offset this other area, or there's a resource that you might be able to use that can plug that hole, or a partner that can come in and talk about a specific pain point, whether it's building their board or HR. HR is a huge issue for a lot of early stage businesses because a lot of these folks haven't necessarily managed people in the past, or they've never built something from scratch, and you can incur some technical debt or legal debt if you're not paying attention to things like an HR policy or an employee handbook, or you're kind of just gluing things together in the early days, it can actually cause bigger problems if you start to scale later and you have to go back and fix those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, going back to the grit mindset and doing everything yourself. Do you think that's the main thing that separates founders that scale from founders that plateau, or would you say there's something else in there?
It's probably 90% blood, sweat, and tears, and 10% luck. But I think if there's one differentiator, it's perseverance. Entrepreneurs who stick with it. Like, rarely are you going to have a smooth ride as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
There's going to be trials and tribulations, obstacles that you did not anticipate, and it's not for everybody. Some folks are ready to, you know what, I can't deal with this. I'm like, it's going to take a quick exit or roll it up and set it aside for another time. The entrepreneurs who successfully scale a company or have a great exit are those that stick with it. They persevere throughout that. So it's grit, it's determination, and it's not a judgment on anybody. I mean, you got to do what's right for you in the time that you're in. But that's, I think, what I've seen from Arch Grants is the founders that stick with it are those that can be most successful.
Mm-hmm. And they're taking advantage of those resources like mentorship to help them find that next right step, right?
Yeah. One of the things we see a lot, so we have this annual startup competition. We get hundreds of applications every year, and we engage volunteers in that process, and it all culminates in finalist pitch day, which is next month. I'm not sure when this is going to air exactly, but early August is when we have about 70 companies come in and pitch to our judges. And one of the clearest signs of an entrepreneur who doesn't get awarded, based on our volunteer judge assessments, are those that don't take feedback well, that don't acknowledge areas of weakness or areas of growth. A lot of folks think that if you just kind of come in and I'm going to speak confidently and bullshit my way through this with conviction and strength. I mean, it can work, but more often than not, folks understand where there's a gap. At least the experts that we try to bring into the room can identify where there's a growth area or a void. And the founders that are able to speak to that upfront, candidly, are those that have the most respect from the judges and the most confidence that they can succeed.
I mean, it takes humility to be able to see where those gaps are, and it takes even more humility to act and bring other people into those positions that can help you move forward.
That's right. Yeah. I think, if you try to do everything yourself, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
Well, this is great because now I know we at least picked up 70 new listeners. Like, if they're smart, they'll come listen. They'll be like, Gabe gave us a tip. This is like the college professor, like, this will be on the test. Like, be willing to take feedback. So at least get 70. We'll get, if it makes its way around. No, it is. I mean, it's true. It's a hard balance too when you feel, I mean, our organization, PEOMG, I mean, we did a pivot very early that we just did not anticipate, and we needed to do it. But I mean, I can imagine when you're an entrepreneur, you have an idea, you're bringing it to market, or you're bringing it to Arch Grants, and like you want to exude like strong confidence, like this is going to work. But how do you balance that with feedback and be like, okay, maybe not, and then you have this like thing inside your head, be like, oh, maybe I don't sound so confident in this idea that I just said I think will work. And it is, but like you kind of have to be all things. You have to be willing to hear feedback, and maybe the idea is going to work, but a component of the execution, the go-to-market strategy, the service fulfillment side, like something's not going to be right. Because what are the odds you get it all right the first time out of the gate? So I think it's also, I mean, that's that founder feedback model's got to be really powerful, that you guys are able to get not only in the competition in and itself, but ongoing? Maybe that, I imagine that feedback continues.
Yeah, we certainly try to provide feedback through every step of the way. We're very careful about not providing business advice to our companies, right? Yep. We're generalists. The organization is industry agnostic in its scope and who we fund. So we have a lot of really brilliant people that come in with ideas of businesses that we want to support, and we don't want to get in the giving them advice on what to do exactly with their business, but we want to connect them with the experts who are in our network and are willing to take a coffee meeting or a call with them. And, I think, and some feedback is bad, but again, it shows kind of it's demonstrative of your character, of your leadership potential, even if you can take bad feedback graciously and say, oh, that's interesting. Like, we're going to look into that, or I'd be happy to connect with you after the fact to understand more about what you're saying. And yeah, it's the folks that get, and you see all kinds, after 10 years of this work. Some folks get combative, they're like, I'm going to tell you why you're wrong about that. So, well, I don't know what that accomplishes, but go for it.
It's the best part of like Shark Tank is the theatrics around like fighting back with the judges. Be like, no, you're wrong. I'm going to prove you wrong, and be like, yeah, more power to you if you can. But yeah.
So watching these founders grow and develop over, like after their 1 year in the program and then moving on beyond that, where does leadership become harder than entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I think it's for a lot of the founders that have come through the Arch Grants program and that I've had the opportunity to work alongside. It is a challenge. It can be a significant challenge to, again, recognize where your weaknesses are, where your areas of growth are, and hiring people that are smarter than you or more experienced in that area to take care of the things that you're not good at. And there's I think ego is probably the biggest detractor from entrepreneurs or successful startups, as much as it is any facet of our civilization, of our society. When ego kind of drives the ship, it's usually not a good sign. So I think the most successful leaders I've seen through Arch Grants work are those that can identify, bring in, and retain, cultivate great leaders themselves. So being a leader of leaders is really, I think, what it takes to grow a huge enterprise. And we have a few of them in our portfolio. No Inc. is a company we funded back in 2013. They've been cited as one of the fastest growing companies in the St. Louis region more than once. It was a former Board of Election Commissioner, Scott Leindecker, who came up with this idea on a I think it was, probably mess up his story. I think he was in Bulgaria doing some consulting work on elections there, and he had this idea for a on-site digital check-in device for voting, and they put an application. He and his spouse Courtney put an application in 2013. Very, very early stage. I think they're working out of one of the Helix centers in St. Louis County, run by St. Louis Economic Development Partnership, and with the Arch Grants and really no other financial backing but what they could put towards the business themselves, they grew to be the largest election software company in the country. And the poll pad, if you've ever checked in at a polling site with a iPad, that is their tech. And just an incredible growth story, and really proud of everything they've accomplished and the way they've engaged with not just Arch Grants, but the broader St. Louis community to give back and really support this ecosystem. A company, Geneoscopy, that we funded back in 2016. It was a brother-sister duo. Andrew Barnell is at Wharton, and Erica Barnell is at WashU, and I think it was a PhD program, a PhD and MD. She had some research that she saw potential to commercialize. using RNA to identify colon cancer markers remotely. So using at-home testing to and an RNA approach to identify potential colon cancer in patients. And they, it was a long road for them. They just went to market. They have a partnership with LabCorp, but they've raised over $200 million in outside capital.
Wow.
Have an incredible team out of Maryland Heights, and talk about grit and determination. They grew from nothing to very promising venture based in St. Louis.
Amazing. And you're saying the common thread in those is that they're able to develop other leaders within their organization who can strengthen and strengthen and strengthen.
That's right. Yeah. They surround themselves with, Class A talent, and no matter if they're pulling people from the coast or finding talent early on and developing them internally. In every instance of a successful scale startup in our portfolio, it's leaders who can attract other great leaders or develop them internally.
Mm-hmm. Love that. Love to hear more of that story on how they've cultivated influence throughout the organization through that.
Mm-hmm.
Not just smart people, not just capable people, but influential people within the org. It's interesting.
That's right.
I want to wrap up with a couple questions just to reflect on your journey. And so as you have been through this with Arch Grants, what's a lesson or I guess just maybe what's one thing you've changed your mind about since you started?
It's a good question. I think there's really something to the idea that just having an open hand of support and just kind of freely giving support or resources away is actually not in anybody's best interest. Creating accountability, creating mutual respect, particularly when it comes to donated dollars. Folks that give their money freely to Arch Grants and other organizations like us, to be responsible stewards of those dollars and not just take we're just here to help and whatever you guys do from here is kind of up to you. But having some more rigor, some more attention, it's almost like the a kid who might have the silver spoon, born with the silver spoon, and they just kind of take everything for granted. Well, they don't really. It's hard for them to value things in the same way as somebody who had to earn it. And so, what we ask of our companies, we ask for them to be here. It's real. Companies that move into St. Louis from outside the region for our program, we require that they're in our office at least 3 days a week, or that we have a accountability measure. It doesn't make sense for them to be in our office if they need wet lab space or their ag tech space. We have partners that help provide that accountability structure, and we give them milestones and say, if you're not hitting these, we need to know why, not just because we're some sort of we want to make sure you hit them or we're going to pull funding, but we want to understand how we can help you achieve your milestones or what's going on with the business if those milestones need to change. Again, so we can be good stewards, we can be good partners, and we can drive more value in St. Louis. So, I think that's one thing that's changed is and you can extrapolate that. I would probably extrapolate that in many, many instances across nonprofit sector. But having accountability measures and expectations of everybody you work with.
Even in the nonprofit sector, accountability becomes no less important. And objectives become no less important. So, if anything, you are stewarding someone else's funding. And so that deserves even more care.
That's right.
Love it. Well, Gabe, I am so thankful that you got on today to tell us more about Arch Grants and, shoot the breeze with us. And we just really appreciate having you here and good to see your face.
Likewise, Heather and Ryan, really appreciate the conversation. Excited to see it go live and, anything we can do to partner in the future, don't hesitate to reach out.
Yeah,
awesome.
Absolutely.
Well,
I imagine, it's going to be fun to watch kind of you guys' continuous impact. So this is cool to kind of hear how you think about it and just all the really wonderful things in St. Louis that are happening around Arch Grants. We really appreciate you and your team.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Wagoneers, until the next time, we are over and out.